As many as 170 million users are watching the clock on TikTok in the U.S. In about 32 hours, it's supposed to be outlawed by a bipartisan law.
All right, breaking news, an earthquake in the world of social media that could be even bigger than we thought. Reports that TikTok is planning to shut down its app to users in the United States this Sunday, the day a federal ban is scheduled to take effect. Now, that ban was supposed to just mean that people couldn't update their apps. This goes much further. This means that people won't even be able to get in.
Okay, we do have some breaking news to bring you out of the U.S. The Supreme Court has decided to uphold the law and allow a ban of popular app TikTok come Sunday.
I want to thank President Trump for his commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the United States.
The Supreme Court upholds the law that was passed by Congress in a bipartisan manner, signed into law by Joe Biden last April, to find a new buyer within 270 days. The Supreme Court has now ruled that that law stands. What happens to the app, however, is a wide open question.
Imagine a world where your voice, your message, your faith could be stifled by the click of a button. Well, today we're diving into the controversial TikTok ban and its implications for you and all of Christendom as well. Welcome to the Revo Report. We're inspiring faith with reason and reasoning with faith. I'm Vince Revo. Let's go.
Welcome to the Revo Report. We're inspiring faith with reason and reasoning with faith.
This is much bigger than we thought it would be and much quicker.
Yeah, I imagine there are some creators on TikTok who are really freaking out now if they weren't already. ByteDance really had three options here. The first was to shut down TikTok altogether when this ban went into effect. The next was to sell TikTok to a non-Chinese owner. They've expressed very little interest so far in doing that, although we may be hearing some negotiating happening soon. And the third option was to essentially do nothing and allow the app stores to ban it, because it was always really the app stores who were on the hook to remove the platform from their app stores. And that's really what we expected, was that people just wouldn't be able to download the app if they got a new phone. They wouldn't be able to update it. But if you had the app on your phone, you would still be able to use it. Now, according to this new report, it sounds like people won't be able to access the app at all.
You know, a lot of people are expressing their concern, rightfully so, because their businesses are going to get affected. Their incomes are going to get affected. And really in this time, we need to trust in divine provision, not digital platforms. And I know that digital platforms such as this, you're watching it because there's a digital platform, but in an era where social media platforms like TikTok become integral to our daily lives, it's crucial to remember where our true sustenance comes from. It comes from the name Jehovah Jireh, meaning the Lord will provide. This isn't just a comforting title. It's a theological assertion that our dependence should never be on the fleeting nature of technology, but on the eternal provisions of Jesus Christ. After all, it's God that allowed for something like TikTok to even exist. You know, in Genesis 22:14, after God provided a ram for Abraham to sacrifice instead of his son Isaac, Abraham named the place Jehovah Jireh. This act symbolized not only physical provision, but spiritual sustenance. And the question we must ask ourselves is, when the digital world crumbles, where do we turn? Where are you turning in this moment?
But today, the Biden administration signaled it's not going to enforce the ban come Sunday, leaving it to the next administration, which of course takes power on Monday. Here's President Biden a short time ago.
What's your take on the TikTok decision today, sir?
Well, the decision wasn't made unexpected anyway, so I think it will work.
You know, from a historical perspective, the rise and fall of empires, technologies, industries have always shown us the impermanence of human constructs. Yes, even TikTok. The Roman Empire, with all its technological advancements for that day, eventually fell. Yet the message of Christ has endured. And philosophically, this points to the Platonic notion of the eternal versus the temporal. Christ is our eternal truth in a world of shadows. He is the reality Everything else is just a shadow. And so if you're a Christian, this ban can also serve as a reminder that our faith isn't about visibility on social media, but about the integrity of our relationship with God. And if TikTok were to vanish, would our faith be any less real? No, because our faith is anchored in the everlasting arms of Christ, not in the algorithms of digital platforms. And we're going to go into why it's banned. Why is this ban happening in the first place?
Here's the latest on the TikTok ban.
It's official. The app TikTok is set to be banned.
To the U.S. government, I'm never forgiving you for this.
TikTok and its US users campaigned hard to block the law banning it in America, but they failed.
Well, the proposed TikTok ban in the United States has roots in national security concerns, data privacy, and really geopolitical tensions. The fear is that TikTok, owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company, could be used by the Chinese government to harvest data or influence American users. Some even saying having access to your private messages. And legally, this situation raises questions about free speech, the government control over private corporations. From an economic standpoint, we see how international relations can impact domestic policy from how others will be impacted in other nations. We see how international relations can impact domestic policy, how it can impact you and me. It was Donald Trump that even started this entire thing. And Biden is basically saying that he won't enforce it. And Trump is saying that he might delay it as well.
We're committed to be very transparent with our users.
Trump has also invited TikTok's CEO to attend his inauguration. Though he supported a ban during his previous term, Trump more recently has said he wants to keep the app alive.
We'll take a look at TikTok. I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points.
Biblically, I'm reminded of 2 Corinthians 4:4, of the God of this world, blinding minds, suggesting the worldly systems often operate contrary to divine principles. But here, we're not suggesting TikTok itself is malevolent, but rather we must discern the motives behind such bans. At the end of the day, this is a geopolitical ban. Or some would ask, is this really for security, or do they reflect deeper ideological conflicts? This event is a lesson in resilience and to be able to adapt. And Christians should view this as not a loss, even though there's a lot of people on TikTok sharing the gospel. And I was one of them. I was putting a lot of videos out there on TikTok sharing the gospel. But this could also be an opportunity to reassess our engagement with technology. There's a lot of other platforms out there that can do that. I know that a lot of people found significance in TikTok because their accounts blew up, etc. And people are going to be affected economically. And for that, definitely I sympathize with you. But the question really is, how can we use these platforms wisely, ensuring that our message isn't lost in translation or corrupted by the medium that we use, or possibly used by another country for political ends? And really, what does this mean for you? How is all of this relating to your life, your walk?
The ban on TikTok, they cite national security concerns and a relationship with a foreign adversary, that being China, because the company ByteDance, which owns TikTok, is China. So as things stand right now, TikTok, come Sunday, will have to shut down in the U.S. What that will look like is up for debate, but basically...
If TikTok were really to be banned and we're waiting one day, is it going to be banned? Everybody's going to be waiting. What's going to happen on Sunday? Is it going to be taken off the Apple app? Is it going to be taken off the Apple Store or the Google Store? As some people are saying it won't. Some people saying it will. Some people are saying if you already have the app existing, it'll be fine. People just might not be able to ban it. Or if it's not enforced, then maybe the app stores won't have to take it down. But really, I think about the early Christians in Rome living in an environment that's hostile to their faith. They adapted, moving their gatherings from public to private, from spoken to written, ensuring the message of Christ was never silenced, but rather it thrived in adversity. And this scenario poses really a profound question, especially for followers of Jesus Christ. How do we as Christians continue to evangelize and live out our faith in a world that might increasingly see digital platforms as battlegrounds or censored? Now, we saw that a while ago. Christian messages were getting censored. Conservative messages were getting censored. Now, the tide is kind of turning right now.
I want to thank President Trump for his commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the United States. We are grateful and pleased to have the support of a president who truly understands our platform, one who has used TikTok to express his own thoughts and perspectives, connecting with the world and generating more than 60 billion views of his content in the process.
We know from even archaeological grounds that the catacombs of Rome, for example, that Christianity survived, even flourished under persecution, under being silenced. And this historical resilience can inspire us, Christians today, to look beyond the digital for community, for discipleship, for evangelism. And perhaps this is a call back to more personal, relational evangelism, reminiscent of the early church movement. I'm reminded of 1 Peter 2:11-12, where we are described as aliens and strangers in this world, called to live such good lives among non-believers that they may see our good deeds and glorify God. This shift could bring Christians back to the essence of discipleship, focusing on personal testimony, community, rather than digital accolades, which a lot of Christians have turned to. I'm on here myself making this video on a digital platform. But we have to remember that hope is in Christ alone. And other things are fleeting. Other things are out of our control. We need to anchor our hope beyond the here and now. We need to anchor it on eternity. Because in the midst of this upheaval, where do we really place our trust?
Creators may be able to download their data, their old videos, but they won't actually be able to access TikTok. And this may be sort of a negotiating tactic on the part of ByteDance. They obviously are going to have a lot of upset creators, and as they're trying to potentially work out a plan with the new Trump administration, that having lots of angry folks in the United States, 170 million American users, could be a leverage point for ByteDance here. We're already seeing creators move to a number of different alternative apps as people try to figure out.
The psalmist in Psalms 42:5 asks, "Why, my soul, are you downcast? Put your hope in God." This ban or any technological shift is a mere ripple in the vast ocean of eternity. And this situation dovetails with ideas of control, where we're reminded to focus only on what we can control, only on what our immediate circle of influence. Our response to circumstances can show whether we're really trusting in God or trusting in these things of this world. And as Christians, we need to take this step further, that our hope isn't just in managing our reactions, but in trusting a sovereign God who has authority over all. Entropy, the natural tendency towards disorder, is a real thing. You can have entropy in your garden. You can have entropy in your social media. If you don't post, it will just slowly decline in viewership. Yet in the spiritual realm, Christ offers order, purpose, and hope. And when TikTok or digital platforms fade or change, which they always will, there's MySpace, there's Asian Avenue, there's Facebook, there's TikTok, there's YouTube, there's Rumble, whatever it is, our hope remains firm in the rock, in Christ Jesus, who is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
It was going forward. TikTok tried to challenge, and now they have been denied. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and we just have this decision. It's a per curiam, meaning that there's no single author who signs off on it. The court is essentially speaking with one voice when they do that. They say this: there's no doubt that for more than 170 million Americans, TikTok offers a distinctive and expansive outlet for expression, means of engagement, and source of community. But Congress has determined that divestiture is necessary to address its well-supported national security concerns regarding TikTok's data collection practices and relationship with a foreign adversary. They say, listen, this doesn't violate First Amendment rights. And there's a big conversation when the hearing was held last week. ByteDance is a foreign entity. It does not have First Amendment rights. Why would it? TikTok is the U.S. entity, but they've got to separate under this law. So essentially what the court says with one voice is...
For Christians, this is a practical lesson we can learn in this, where we invest our emotion, our spiritual capital, our time, not in the transient, but in the eternal. And we must ask, what truly lasts forever? And the answer lies not in social media metrics, but in the eternal metrics of faith, hope, and love. And we are sinners, and we fall short every single day. In this world where there is trouble, we can have no fear because God has overcome that world. People are looking to a redemption narrative here for TikTok. They're hoping that, TikTok's going to survive this. But let me tell you about an ultimate redemption narrative. Our world is fraught with trouble. And as Jesus himself warned in John 16:33, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. This TikTok ban then is but a minor skirmish in the broader narrative of redemption. This points us back to the core of Christianity: salvation through Christ alone, by faith alone. We are all sinners. As Romans 3:23 reminds us, but through Christ we find not just forgiveness, but victory over the world's chaos.
They say they're not going to get into the First Amendment implications of it. That was something that TikTok had raised. Instead, they're looking at the national security implications, something that the Justice Department, the FBI, they've raised concerns about, as you mentioned, the Chinese ownership interest here, whether the manipulation of American users' data could happen, whether Americans could be spied on effectively. And because of that reason, the Supreme Court is allowing this ban to go through.
One might argue in life's vast randomness, finding true peace and purpose is statistically improbable in this world without divine intervention, without a true north. Yet in Christianity, we find this intervention in a person, not a technology, not in a philosophy, but in the personhood of Jesus Christ, who offers not just a chance, but a certainty of overcoming. And this means that we can live out our faith with courage, knowing that whatever bans or challenges we face, they are opportunities for God's light to shine brighter through us. We are called to be more than conquerors through Him who loves us. And I know this is a tough time for people who rely on that. But we have to remember that Jesus has the power to turn our mess into a message, our test into a testimony, our pain into purpose. In every challenge, there's an opportunity to see His work at hand and to see His hand at work, transforming our trials into triumphs. I pray that you would see the Lord of all provisions, our Jehovah Jireh, and thank Him for His unending faithfulness. In a world where technology ebbs and flows, His love remains our constant. And I pray that you would have wisdom to navigate these digital waters, so to speak, to use every platform or maybe even its absence to glorify Him. And I pray that God would strengthen all of us to be more resilient, to find community and purpose beyond the screen, and to hold fast to the hope we have in Christ. And in every ban or every blessing, to truly reflect His overflowing power, showing that we are more than conquerors in Him. So may Christ help us to run the race with endurance, to fight the good fight of faith, and to know that victory is in Jesus. Remember, brothers and sisters, you are not defined by the platform of the world, but the eternal promise of God. So let's go forth, not in fear, but in the triumphant joy of Christ's victory. Let's make our lives a living testament to His enduring love and power. God bless you.